Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'll be discussing the almighty row that's kicked off between the UK and the EU, I suppose more specifically the UK media and the EU Commission, over supplies of the AstraZeneca COVID vaccine, taking into account the known legal facts such as they are, but also the political angles as well. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, wasn't really going to talk about this at this point, waiting for a few more things to be known. People were saying, Phil, you must talk about the thing. The thing, Phil, talk about the thing. Fine. But don't be disappointed when there's little that we really know, but I suppose it has its political interest. So a bit of a Barney brewing. AstraZeneca, which is the so-called Oxford-based group that developed one of the COVID vaccines, one of the two COVID vaccines currently in use in the UK, or I know as people are trying to remind us, SARS-CoV-2. But anyway, that's just been cleared by the European Medicines Agency. Now, there's a few different ways that's playing out in different European countries. Let's focus on the UK at the moment. We've also had news this week of another couple of vaccines that are looking good, one of which, again, in the UK has been, I mean, we believe that the vaccines are pretty good against the new variant, but one of these latest ones has been specifically tested against it. So that's all looking good as well. But AstraZeneca, both the UK and the EU have a contract for supplies of the AstraZeneca vaccine, but the EU doesn't seem to be happy with the amount that they're getting, and they feel that some of their allocation is going to the UK, where the company is based. Now, they seem to be, and there's quite a few things in here I'm going to be saying seem to be, because again, what I'm saying is not everything is known. They seem to be threatening to block exports of the Pfizer vaccine in retaliation, which of course is developed by a company in the EU. All very messy. People on both sides of the Brexit debate, in the UK at any rate, are calling this a bad showing from the EU, a bit of a PR disaster. In actual fact, I don't think it is, but the legality first, because that's the quickest, I think. Not quickest because it's the easiest to understand, but because we do only have limited information. But we do have some information. Now, here's what seems to be the case. So the EU signed their contract back in August last year for an expected 100 to 120 million doses by the end of March. This March, of course. Now, in December, AstraZeneca had to revise that down to 80 million. Last week, it was revised down further to just 31 million. So going from we can get you about 100 to 120 million down to 31 million, that's a hell of a downgrade in supply. Now, here is where we enter into this, if anyone's been trying to follow it, this concept of best effort. I nearly did air quotes there, never do air quotes. Best effort. This is the phrase that's been bandied about by AstraZeneca as justification for having to massively reduce the supplies that they are delivering to the EU. Now, the basic concept is this, and it's absolutely fine. It's not that, so they're trying to say, well, we're not obligated to have actually delivered what we said we could, because this is all very new. We've had to set up new production facilities very quickly, and an accurate assessment of our capacity to deliver is quite tricky. All fine, no problem at all, perfectly understandable. But the EU are not convinced that AstraZeneca are giving it their best effort. Now, this is based on a couple of things. So it's based on the notion that they've massively, and I mean massively, revised down the amount that they can supply the EU, but they've massively upgraded their revised, supplies to the UK. So at the same time as they're saying to the EU, oh, sorry, we can't get you as much as we thought, they're saying to the UK, hey, good news, we can get you more than we thought. Now, before I put this into a bit of context, again, one other relevant piece of information. So the EU got itself a good deal on vaccines. Due to their superior buying power, which we used to take advantage of, they are paying 7 times less per dose than the UK is. Or if you like, because the UK is now on its own in these matters, we've had to pay 7 times as much. So much for being able to strike better deals on our own. But the point is that AstraZeneca is making way more profit from selling to the UK per dose than selling to the EU. So from the EU's point of view, it looks like this. They've been told by the company that it can't supply as much as it thought it would be able to by quite a long way. At the same time, they're telling the UK that they can supply quite a lot more to them. Oh, and as a matter of pure coincidence, they make way more profit from selling to the UK. So this is all about, you know, grabbing as much money early on. Over time, it'll sort of even out, but they want to grab that early money. So putting profit before, you know, getting the vaccine out. So at this point, it looks like the EU have a right to be aggrieved, right? And we also shouldn't be surprised that they are aggressively pursuing this in the interests of their own citizens. It's what they do. It's why so many countries wanted to be a part of it, including us at one time. But does that mean they have a legal argument? No idea in a nutshell. I mean, the best efforts clause may well have some legal meaning that I don't get. I'm not a legal expert. I have, of course, seen some legal expert opinions on the matter, but nothing conclusive, largely because the contract was not made public. A bit silly, really. Any public procurement contract should, of course, be made public. Some redacted bits of the contract, I gather, have now surfaced. But I get the impression from reading around it that any court case that took place, whether it does or it doesn't, was probably going to involve fairly complex legal arguments on both sides, particularly about what is meant by this best effort. But then the politics, so I can absolutely discuss these, and there's two main angles to the politics here. So in the UK, this has been billed as a bad political move from the EU Commission President. And that's, you know, that's a reasonably widely held view amongst both pro-EU as well as anti-EU people. Not universal, but widely held. But is it? So let's try a little thought experiment here. So this threat to block the export of the UK's allocation of the Pfizer vaccine because of a grievance with a completely different company. Now, bear in mind, there is no suggestion that the UK government have personally compelled AstraZeneca to give them more than an allocation of vaccines. They definitely have not blocked export to the EU. They haven't said to the company, no, we're keeping all of these. The EU can have theirs later. They haven't done that. Now, it's quite likely if AstraZeneca have downgraded their supplies to the EU and upgraded them to the UK, it's almost certain that the UK ministers behind closed doors have put a little bit of gentle pressure on AstraZeneca to up the dose for them. Very likely indeed, because after all, it was only a couple of weeks ago that the Health Secretary was saying that supplies of the vaccine was a problem in terms of the rollout. Now apparently everything's grand. It's going well. So it may well have been that. But the UK hasn't blocked exports. And also Pfizer hasn't done anything wrong either. So on the face of it, Pfizer's done nothing wrong. And the EU's grievance with his AstraZeneca, not the UK government, the UK haven't blocked those exports. So this move to block exports of the Pfizer vaccine would harm Pfizer, who did nothing wrong, and the UK, who are also not accused of doing anything overtly wrong. Is this a dick move? Many would say yes. I tell you who will absolutely say yes, and that is Brexiteers. 100% of them, I guarantee. And I know this because, first of all, you know, if you're that way minded, of course, you'll see any move like this on the EU as being a dick move, but the pro-Brexit media is full of it. But here's another thing. This is where the thought experiment comes in. So let's say the EU put a block on, say, not just, you know, the vaccines produced in their territories, but on drugs that are produced in their countries that are used to treat COVID. So those who already have COVID, vaccines no use to them, but there are treatments. So let's say there's over 100 different drugs that can be used to treat COVID, and the EU put a block on their exports. Would this also be a dick move? I would suggest that if you think the Pfizer block is unseemly, you'd really be against blocking exports of COVID treatments, because the treatments, after all, are to be used for people who are suffering from COVID. They could die. The vaccine is to be used on people who are effectively healthy, and you just don't want them to get COVID. But here's the thing. The EU haven't done that, but the UK have. The UK government actually blocked the export of drugs useful in treating COVID. So who's the dick now? Of course, you can argue that both are, and for the same reason. But as I say, it's a good little thought exercise for your bias, because if you thought that the EU were being unreasonable, and then you're told, oh, the EU have also blocked these drugs that can be used to treat it, and you think that's unreasonable, and then it's like, actually, the UK government have actually done that. Do you still think it's unreasonable? You should do. Okay? If you're of the view that one move is fine and the other isn't, because the EU did one and the UK did another, it's just possible you're not being that objective. So for my money, either both of those moves are just looking after your own citizens, putting your own citizens first, regardless of any wider moral principles, or both of them are unbecoming of civilized societies. I don't think you can really have it both ways. My personal view is that both of them are poor behaviours. But then there's the final political angle. Now, a lot of people in Britain are saying, and this includes people on the pro-EU side, are saying that this is a bad look for the EU. It's not reflecting well on them. It's an own goal that's only playing into the hands of the Brexiteers. Now, to that I say, yes, this is a boon for the Brexiteers in Britain. They get to paint the EU as the bad guys again. They've been desperate to do this because they've had weeks of being desperate for something to distract the public from the fact that Brexit is a colossal disaster, an absolute colossal disaster. And I've got a few more videos coming up soon as well in terms of the economic nightmare of Brexit, as well as food shortages and all the rest of it. But here's the thing. Do the EU care about that? Why should they care what the British media or the British people think of them now? Fair enough when we were part of the EU, but we chose to be their opponents. We've been most impolite about it as well. If it was playing badly amongst their own public, then they would care. As far as I can tell, it's not. But the EU Commission have got no more interest in what the Daily Mail has to say about them now than Boris Johnson would care what the Sydney Morning Herald would have to say about what he's up to. But that's what's known, and those are my views on the matter. More will doubtless emerge over time. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.